Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is cover letters. And so typically we have our senior seminar capstone students write a cover letter that goes along with their paper. And it's a little bit different than what a real cover letter is for the, research and publishing world. So I want to give you guys an example of what that looks like in real life. And so if you go to your seventh edition APA manual, in chapter 12 and section 11, so 12.11. This is all about writing a cover letter, what should be in it, what the purpose is, and all that information. So I'm going to talk to you guys today about this particular example, and then how it sort of relates to what we really do, and also what you may do in senior seminar for your paper. So typically, a cover letter is a way for us to sort of introduce the paper, right? So for senior seminar, you might be saying, "This is my paper. I'm presenting it to you. These are the flaws. These are the merits. This is what I think I, did on it, and this is what it's about." And so in the publishing world, the cover letter serves the same sort of purpose. It's sort of introducing your manuscript and explaining why you think it should be published, and it's really a request for publication. So when you write a paper, whether it's you're writing a manuscript from an empirical study or experimental study that you did, or a series of studies, could be an opinion piece, it could be a review of many other works or a meta-analysis, no matter what it is, this is a request that you sort of tag on to the whole paper, to the journal, to explain why you're submitting it to them. So, in a peer reviewed journal, that's when you have other colleagues, people who are, peers of yours, who are reviewing the work to make sure that it is legitimate and it fits the field and the scope and the mission of the journal. Because every journal has a set of 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 mission. They have a particular mission and set of goals that they want to accomplish with the journal. So they're going to publish papers of a certain caliber that are in a certain discipline or field, and they want to make sure that the readers of the journal are getting what they pay for, and that is, especially if it's a paid journal. If not, if it's open access, then it might be free, but really when you click on that journal, okay, this is what I'm getting. And so the mission might be that they want to, shed light on a particular field, and they are specialized in a particular area, whatever that might be. So you need to know the journal that you're submitting to first, and then your cover letter should be, reflecting on that information. Now, what you'll notice here with this particular cover letter is the format isn't quite exactly what you would expect with APA. Some journals do not actually don't go with APA formatting. They might go with something similar. There's literally like just hundreds of different kinds of formats you can use. A lot of psychology journals do APA or similar, but you would need to check with the journal with the specific templates and formats that they want you to use. So they might say, well, we want you to use this font, or we want you to do this spacing, or whatever it might be. It might actually be different from APA. So whenever you submit papers, you can spend a lot of time on the formatting part. But generally speaking, with APA, you're looking at Times New Roman, 12-point font, double spacing, things like that. With this particular cover letter, does actually follow a template. This journal that it was submitted to is the Neural Regeneration Research Journal, and these are the elements that were included, which actually very nicely fit in with exactly what you would expect per that section 12.11, writing a cover letter section of the APA manual. So things that you would expect in a cover letter would be specific details about the manuscript. For example, the title. So here you can see that the title of this manuscript is a pilot study of voxel-based lesion symptom mapping after stroke. You would expect also to see information for the corresponding author or the corresponding contributor, which in this case was me. And at the time I was at USC with my detailed contact information there. The corresponding author or contributor is the person who you would talk to about the article or the manuscript. So this is the person that is the one point contact, because let's say you have an article with 12 authors, and you don't want to talk to all 12 authors, so you just have one point of contact. It doesn't necessarily have to be the first or last author, it could be any of those. Typically the corresponding contributor is the first author, but not necessarily always. Um, Especially if it's a student or someone who might be changing their location, they may not want to be the corresponding author. Um, Other things that you find in the cover letter is things like making sure that all the authors are in agreement, that they agree upon the order in which that they want to be in. And we talked about author order being extremely important and agreed upon before you actually publish the article. Typically, we see the first author as being the person who wrote the paper, and then typically the last author is usually the person whose lab it is. They're in charge of the study, or they're overseeing the whole thing. That last author ship is usually a higher rank of the person who's overseeing the whole project. But it doesn't always follow that format, but that's typical. Everybody in between is usually whoever contributed. More is closer to the area of the first author. Sometimes we see that everybody contributed equally, and sometimes it goes alphabetically, and sometimes it is just agreed upon based off of different arbitrary things. Um, but usually the first author is the one who either conducted the whole thing and or wrote the actual paper. Another thing that you see is, and here you can actually see all the author in order, the author names, as well as the corresponding institutions and departments that they belong in. And also you will see that that anywhere that the article that the manuscript or the study or whatever it is that's in there has been presented, you would also see that information in here. And so this particular work was published or presented in a poster format at this conference, Neuroscience, in 2010. And so all of that information needs to be added, as well as things like what support, what kind of funding was reported, any conflict of interest, meaning that if you got paid to do some kind of work or worked with a company, you would need to disclose that. Another thing here, which is what I was going down for, was because I wanted to also note that this information of where it was presented is also in this form here. Wherever the contributor contributed, you in some cases journals actually have a particular template for this. You would expect to see, what did the contributor contribute to? So this is a really nice kind of outlay, because it allows the journal to know who gave what information, or who did what on the study. Who were the authors who searched for the literature to do the introduction, who were the authors that did statistical analyses, who wrote the paper, who designed it, who contributed to the concepts, things like that. And so this gives you an opportunity to say exactly where those people did what into this particular manuscript. And then, of course, any acknowledgments that you might have, you can include on the cover letter as well. So the cover letter in of itself is going to explain why this particular manuscript fits in with the journal's mission, requesting the publication because it contributes in this way to research. Okay. And so it's really important to explain what you found. So here, these are the actual main findings of the study, how it fits in with the aims and scopes. And in this case, this is, very specific clinical research that provides information on brain injury, actually could lead to further work in neuroregeneration after stroke, and then why it might appeal to the audience of, in this case, neuroregeneration research. And so what is really interesting about the cover letter is it provides the opportunity to explain your case, why you think it should be why this paper should be published, what you did, what you found, and what all information you think that the journal should know prior to even reading your paper. So this is the very first thing they read. They don't read your manuscript until they read your cover letter, or some cases journals might have a checklist in lieu of a cover letter, but many of them expect something like this. So hopefully this was helpful to you to understand why we write cover letters. If you go into research, you will absolutely be doing this in the future. And another one final thing I do want to note, and you'll see in this letter that we actually did not have any particular reviewers to refer, but remember in peer-reviewed work, you expect to have at least two reviewers looking at your work. So these are people in the field that you would expect that would know the work and understand it and be able to give you good feedback if this is publishable or not. Should you revise it? Is it, is it sound work? Many times journals actually request that you, as the author, suggest a few people who would be good to select to review. Now, in some cases, these are blinded reviews where those reviewers have no idea that this paper is coming at them. Of course, those reviewers cannot be the authors of the paper because that would be a conflict of interest because then they would know. And many times we go for blinded reviews so that the reviewers have no idea who wrote the paper and they aren't biased either for or against the particular authors or paper or work. So if you have any questions about this, please send me an email. I'm happy to answer them, but hopefully this was helpful to see a solid example and to see how this sort of works in the real world.